Today we're going to talk about 3 reasons why people do not want to have a living will. And you've also heard these referred to as advance directives. And it really just depends on what jurisdiction you're in, whether they call it a living will or an advance directive, but they are the exact same document. First, let me start by saying that advance directives or living wills vary from state to state. So it really depends on what state you're living in, how effective it is going to be when the time comes and your family and your doctors and you actually need it to work the way it was intended to do. So always check with an estate planning attorney near you or a probate attorney near you to get the best guidance possible on your advance directive. Second, let me say that a advance directive or a living will is a legally binding document that you will actually sign, and usually, depending on where you go, you will sign it in front of witnesses to make certain that it is actually the intent that you want to happen when that time comes. First reason I see that people don't want to do a living will or advance directive is really for the same reason that they don't want to do an estate plan in the first place. They don't want to talk about or even think about their own mortality, their death. And I totally get that. It's not something that we generally like to talk about, but it is extremely important to your estate plan and ultimately to your family and to you if you've done your estate plan correct. And along with that, they just want their family to be the ones who make that decision for them when it's time. And I totally get that. But I can tell you that in over 20 years of doing this, having a living will and directions to your family on exactly what you want to happen is one of the biggest gifts that you can give them. Because if you're in the hospital and things are really tough and they know that you're not going to make it, you have essentially taken the burden off of them and instead told them what you want, what your wishes are. And guys, that is a tremendous gift that I have seen play out over and over again. So I totally get it that you don't want to talk about your own mortality, but if you can give this to your kids, to your loved ones, it is a tremendous gift. The second reason people don't want to have a living will is that they don't want to think about not having hydration or nutrition. It is essential to our life being every single day to have the proper amount of hydration and the food. Some of us more than others enjoying our food, right? But hydration and nutrition are extremely important to our lives. But if you are in a persistent vegetative state, in other words, you're brain dead, hydration and nutrition can truly be the difference between you living many more days, months, or possibly even years, or being able to die peacefully in the next few days. So hydration and nutrition is extremely important. And depending on where you are, along with hydration and nutrition is also usually pain medication. Obviously, we don't know what happens when we are in a persistent vegetative state. We're brain dead. However, most of us would imagine, I think you would agree, that you at least want pain medication during that time to make you feel as comfortable as possible. So the decision that I see most people make is they really don't want the food and the water, and instead they just want pain medication because they don't want to be kept alive forever if they really have no life in front of them. In other words, they're brain dead. And they do want the pain medication because they do want to feel comfortable. So that's the second reason that I see people not wanting to do a living will is because they don't want to think about the hydration and nutrition. And I get that. That's our life being. But I think the better way to approach it is that you have that pain medication that will allow you to go peacefully and give your family time to grieve and not have them strung along in the hospital or going back and forth to see you over days, over months, over years. Again, it goes back to the first reason. Making these decisions can truly be a gift to your loved ones. The third reason I see people avoid having a living will or advance directive, depending on where you are, is they don't want some physician that they've never ever met before to make that decision for them. And I think this is a little bit of an uninformed rationale because what the physicians are trying to do is to determine whether or not you are in a persistent vegetative state. And that's really what you want. You don't want somebody who you have a good relationship who might be biased in making the decision on whether or not you are in a persistent vegetative state. You really want two independent physicians to examine you and decide whether or not you are in a persistent vegetative state. And the decision that they're really making is just whether or not you are in a persistent vegetative state or not. The rest of the advance directive is the decisions that you've made that we've already talked about. Do you want to be kept alive for days or months? Do you want to continue to get that hydration and nutrition or just the pain medication? Remember, an advance directive or a living will is all about you and what you want. It's guidance to your family and a gift to your family so that they don't have to make that decision. You don't put that burden on them, and instead you give them a gift of what you want to happen if you are ever in a persistent vegetative state. I know I've thrown a lot at you, and that's why we've prepared our free estate planning guide, and I'll put a link in the description below so you can get it. And if you haven't already done it, please subscribe to our channel and hit the like button. We'd really appreciate it. And as always, have a great day.